What's up, guys? We're here in the Business Drop. My name is Carlos David.
Alexander Lemos.
Carlos M.
And we're here to talk to you guys about today's guest, Voy
Wiącek.
And let's talk about Voy, guys. Let's paint a picture for the audience so they can know what's coming.
If you guys want to learn how to process emotions to make better decisions, you want to tune into this episode. I know it sounds very different from probably what we've all been conditioned to think a business podcast is, but I'm telling you guys right now, you're going to want to listen to what Voy's message is for us and how we can make better decisions. I know we all getting a lot of wisdom out of it.
It put things in different perspective for me, and it kind of just connected two and two together. Some of the things that had happened in my life prior to just listening to him talk about emotional intelligence.
Guys, you are not going to want to miss this.
Right.
Listen to the whole episode. There's so much value and wisdom into this. So enjoy.
Before we dive in, fellas, would you guys want to do some breath work just to drop us in and get us aligned?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do a two-part breath. This is pretty much the fastest way to really regulate ourselves whenever we're in stressful situations. So the way it's going to work is we're going to breathe through the nose, and we're going to breathe belly, chest, and then exhale. So it's going to look like this. All right, and we're just going to do 12 of those. All right, so I'm going to invite you fellas just to gently close your eyes. Allow yourself to have a nice straight posture. And once again, we're going to breathe into the belly, chest, and exhale out through the mouth. In 3, 2, 1, begin. And one more.
Wow, definitely feel different. I feel lightheaded a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
I definitely would recommend it doing standing up. But
Yeah,
as you get into it, the more you do it, the better the nervous system really comes back to groundedness.
Okay.
And when we make decisions, it's better to do it from fear than trust.
Nice.
Awesome.
From trust.
I should start to feel a little bit of energy now.
Yeah.
All
Cool,
right.
guys. So who is this? Who is this guy that's making us breathe? Guys, we have Voy with us. Voy, what's your last name?
Wiącek.
Wiącek. I was not going to say that. On the Business Trap, you guys have a treat today. He's certainly somebody who's been around leaders, who's been coaching leaders for a long time, and we're very excited to have him on the show. Thank you for that breathing exercise. Aside from the lightheaded, I do feel a lot clearer.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man.
Well, Voy, tell us a little bio about who you are and where the audience can find you.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm an impact-driven mentor, and I focus specifically on embodied leadership. So I have co-founded an organization called Modern Renaissance Man, and we work with leaders to really help them find their edge, own their power, and step into their truth. Now, my background spans in business as well as the corporate space, and we'll get into that later, but ever since I left the corporate space, I've been on a journey to really find my own truth and how I can amplify that and bring it back to the world. So my main focus now is working with leaders as well personally with tools like psychology, NLP, spirituality to help them find their own truth so that when they step out to the world, they're leading from a place of trust and not fear.
That's
Cool,
awesome.
man. That's awesome.
That sounds great. Voy, thank you for joining us today. In the Business Trap, we like to inspire aspiring entrepreneurs, to go for it, to kind of like leave that fear behind. And that sounds like it's something related to what you do. So can you tell us what is the risk that you took, the most important risk that you took, and why?
The biggest risk that I took. So this was probably, I would say about 5 years ago. I was working for a cybersecurity company. So I was working in sales, and I came out of college, and like my parents were like, you got to go to college, you got to get a good job, and do the whole thing. So I did that. I went to college, got this crazy job. I worked for this high-performing like cybersecurity company. Now this company was wild. If you could think of like Wolf of Wall Street, where people get like a sale and the bell rings and people go crazy and like everybody's mad hype, like that was the energy.
Wow.
Right? And being at that time, the thing I didn't realize is I was trying to be the man as opposed to trying to be a man. And I was just looking for ways to make more money, drive the nice car, have the pretty girl. And although those things came to me and I had those, I realized that truly that was on the external that was making me look good, but inside it didn't feel good. I was seeking something more. So I remember one time, it was like close to me already, like wanting to kind of leave this place because it was just, I felt trapped. I didn't feel creative. I didn't feel like I could express myself because there were just a lot of rules. And I remember walking in one day to work, and my managers called me into this room, and this room has like glass, so everybody on the sales floor can see into that, but they can't hear. And at the time, I was making great money, so there was different managers that wanted me on different teams, because if I was on your team and I made sales, you were getting a cut from it, right? So I was kind of getting thrown around. And I get called into this room, and for the first time ever, these guys like come up, they put their hands like this on their on the table, and they're like, "We want you on our team." and I heard that you didn't want to be on our team.
Ooh.
I was like, yeah, that's right. I don't want to be on your team because I see another opportunity, and at the end of the day, I need to think of myself. And they fucking lost it.
Oof.
Screaming, cursing at me, like the FBI was literally there, like, you know, what do you think you're doing? Like, we made you, we did this for you,
Wow.
like, who are you? And literally the whole sales floor is seeing this. Like, everybody's like, and I'm like, whoa. So after this whole thing, I walk out, I sit at my desk, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do next. I don't know where to go, but I know deep in my heart, this ain't it.
Okay.
So I stood up, I looked my manager in the eyes, and I was like, I quit.
Nice.
Wow.
I
That
quit.
take guts.
And I literally took the biggest risk of my life to leave the corporate space and figure out what is it in my heart that I want to do. And that led me on a journey of like traveling the world, living in different countries, and learning from those people so I could learn about myself. So for me, the biggest risk was pulling away from like what my parents, what education, what society said I need to do, and following what truly I wanted to do. And that's how I got into leadership, the men's space, and creating my own business. So long story short, that was the biggest risk.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Amazing story. So many people are going through that, but they don't have the guts to just make the decision that you made.
Yeah,
it took me about 2 years to quit I was a school teacher. It took me about 2 years to make that decision. So to hear somebody that just decided like in a couple of minutes, I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
I kind of felt like it was building up to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of the things I was doing a lot.
The trigger.
Yeah, I was leading from here as opposed to leading from here and here.
Okay.
And that's what I see in leadership, and we'll dive into that later. One of the tools leaders can really use to lead from a place of trust. But I'm curious, when you were on that journey and it took you 2 years to quit, was there a moment for you where you're like, that's it, I'm done?
There was a trigger, yeah. There usually is. So if any of you guys are in the same situation, like it was building up. Like I say, it was just building up, and then one day I got called into the office and they gave me a BS observation because you get observed as a teacher to check your performance. And I completely disagree with it. And I told him, like, this is BS. Like, I don't understand. I did exactly what's in the curricula. Like, I don't understand. Oh, you didn't do this. I'm like, you know what? A couple of days later, I put in my resignation.
That was it.
That was it.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always takes something to, like, really challenge us to see that this isn't the place that we're supposed to be at.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So, this is awesome because I see that, you're the type of person that's kind of mellow. And I guess that was acquired. You weren't like that before. I feel a sense of peace when I'm talking to you. You have like that tranquility. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. So I definitely didn't have that growing up. I came from a home that there was a lot of things happening in the home that were causing a lot of trauma.
Okay.
Long story short, I used to live in Poland. My sister was killed in an accident. So that kind of like tore the whole family apart. And my mom obviously didn't know how to handle it. My dad didn't know how to handle it. So they were kind of pulled away from raising us. Physically, my parents were there, but emotionally, they were gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine how it is to lose a child. So we came to America to like escape that energy. Mind you, I'm this white kid coming from a farm, coming to Newark, where it's like cities, airplanes, cars. I was just like, holy shit. So I just didn't know how to adjust.
Right.
So instead of going outward, I just went inward and I just pulled away. So I was super anxious, super shy, always like on edge because I felt like there was just threat all around me. And I picked that up from my parents, right?
Yeah.
Because we
yeah,
mimic
yeah.
what our parents do, so we think that's
Very
normal.
true.
So that's how I saw it. So yeah, I was always in that state. And for the longest time, I would look like people at Tony Robbins. And I'd be like, wow, how are they so different?
Yeah,
Like how did they achieve that? Like, man, I'm never going to be that way. Right? I never had the belief that was going to be me. So I looked at people like that and I was like, well, if I can't be like that, the least I can do is just work on myself. So I started getting into things like meditation, breath work, right? Plant medicine, working with men in circles, and that really helped me take away, I would say, like 90%, maybe 99% of my anxiety, which is crazy because the doctors were saying that I need to take pills because
so they get kids now.
Exactly. My tests were just through the roof, so long story short, working on myself allowed me to really step deeper into being like more chill, grounded, and
I
tranquil.
like that.
Yeah,
I feel that vibe, man. That's awesome.
That's awesome. So I think you gave the roadmap to a lot of people out there who might have been in that situation, who might be now in that situation that you were back then.
Yeah.
Trapped with anxiety, not knowing who you are, and not knowing that if you work on yourself little by little, you could be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what nowadays we have a lot of different leaders, and some of them scale, others don't, which I guess is fine to each person's own agenda. But what do you feel is the main issue that's going on in today's world with leaders themselves?
I think the world has really evolved, and so has the consciousness of the human mind. And for the longest time, and I'll speak specifically towards men, whenever we hear the term emotion or emotions, it's like I don't want to deal with that.
It's weak.
It's weak, right? It's weak. If I feel emotions, like people are gonna think I'm too weak or too vulnerable, whatever the case is. Right? And when I first got into leadership, I remember all the training that I was getting was like, when you feel emotion, like push that aside. You can't be emotional. You have to be grounded and in it. And the more I got into this work, the more I realized that isn't the case. So I would say what's really missing, or what leaders can really embody, is emotional intelligence. Right? Because truly, we're emotional beings. Everything we do is from emotion. And whenever we feel inspired, anxious, ready to lead, it's all emotions in our body. So if I can understand that first, I can then understand how the mind is working. And if I can understand that, I can understand my team. Because sometimes we may have a team member that's on the surface, he's like, yeah, I'm okay. But you can feel it, that there's something wrong. So I want to know and figure that out so that you and I are clear, we're on the same page, and we can support each other, as opposed to me creating assumptions, them creating assumptions, then we make fake agreements in my mind, and then we're triggered, and we're not working together. Right? So really understanding emotions is, to me, the gateway to becoming the most optimal leader, because every emotion carries wisdom. It's telling us something. Right? If I feel angry about something, that emotion's telling me something has to stop. Whether I need to set a boundary with a coworker, whether I need to set a boundary with an idea, or I have to remove myself from the situation, it's here. And the body doesn't lie. The body keeps the score. Everything we experience is in the body. So to me, emotional intelligence is by far the biggest thing that I could see leaders stepping into.
Wow, that's
and I could
deep,
give
man.
you guys a story about that too if you want. But
Yeah, let's do it.
Of course, let's do it. I'm actually gonna rewatch this episode. Because I'm getting so much out of this.
I
that's
appreciate
awesome,
that.
man.
Yeah, and well, that was what was happening for me. Like I said, when I was, so let me start with this. Sadhguru is this spiritual teacher, and he has this beautiful quote, and he says, the universe happens from within us. So meaning the way we perceive the world is how we perceive ourselves, right? So if I walk in and I feel like I have been hurt in the past in a boardroom, somebody made fun of me in a boardroom, my mind remembers that story, holds on to it, and it remembers the feeling. So now every time I walk into a boardroom and I see a boardroom, my body goes, oh shit, remember when they made fun of you? Anxious, sweating, nervous, and then the story comes up. If I say something, somebody's gonna make fun of me, so I need to retreat, right? It's exactly what I used to do with my name. So when I was in school and I came from Poland, I was sitting in class, I said my name, somebody said it wrong, and the kids laughed. And automatically as a child, I was like, holy shit, I don't fit in, my name is weird, I'm not like, so I'm just gonna pull away. So every time I walked into a classroom, my body would just freak out.
Just waiting for that.
And I was just like, I'm like, what is happening? And I didn't know, because I never asked myself, it's like, what's happening? What is this emotion telling me? And when I asked myself that, I realized that that little moment in my life then triggered everything and how I show up as a leader. So tapping into that emotion, unpack that story. Once I realized, I moved it out the body, and now I can come back to being chill, grounded, and lead from here as opposed to here. Because when we lead a lot from here, it's from ego. When we lead from here, it's from service.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I think many of us could relate
awesome.
to that story.
Yeah.
So how do we push that out the body?
Great question, man. Great question. So that's where we dive into emotional intelligence. But before we get to dive into emotional intelligence, we need to understand how to be emotionally literate. So if I were to ask you guys, what do you think an emotion is? What would you say?
A feeling.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, it's a feeling of
Feeling.
thought. Yeah.
Emotion is literally energy in motion. So when we have an emotion in the body, there isn't positive or negative emotions. It's literally neutral. It's just energy. So like, if somebody's like, yo, what's up? I get that. I'm like, oh shit, that got me hyped. I receive their energy. But the way I express it and where I express it becomes negative or positive, right? So if we look at emotions and energy, circulation creates healing. So energy can't be destroyed or created. So if energy is coming to me, I need to circulate it so it can come out and I can still continue healing and moving energy. The problem with most men is when we feel energy or emotions rising, we've been taught to push it down, right? It's like, I'm angry right now. I can't be angry, push it down, hide it. Now, you guys ever been to like a pool? If you take a beach ball and you try to push it under the water, you can kind of get it and like you get it, and then soon enough it just kind of like splashes you in the face. Same thing with emotions if we don't process them. If I try to push down an emotion and let's say like we're in the boardroom and I get upset or angry, if I hold on to that and I keep building it, then I might go home to my wife and she's like, how was your day? And it's like, my day was like shit. And then I just let everything out on her when she's not the one supposed to be getting that. So to your point, how can we move that out of the body? First thing is awareness, right? It's like noticing in the body. What's happening? Am I sweating? Is my jaw clenched right now? Like, am I like tight? Is there pressure in my shoulders? Right? It's like I feel my stomach kind of turning. That gives you a clue that something's off. Great. Now I know it's here. Second thing is locate it. Once again, is it my hands? Is it my stomach? Is it my neck? Is it my, forehead, my jaw, whatever. Once we locate it, we then ask, or we then match it. So let me take a step back. Awareness, finding it where it's in the body, and then matching it with an expression. What do I mean by that? If I feel angry right now, I can ask myself, damn, where is this anger? It's in my throat. So then I can say, okay, if I wanted this anger to come out, what sound or expression would I make? Then you take a moment, whatever comes to mind, you do it. So sometimes for me, when I feel angry, I'm just like, ah, and I let it out. And that literally moves the energy out. Now I can take a breath and I ask myself, what is this showing me? And the mind will literally tell you, hey, this anger is coming here because, one of my friends didn't show up with the project that we have agreed to on time. Oh, I get it now. Move it out, come back to presence, and now operate from this place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So absolutely. Awareness, identifying where it's in the body, matching it with an expression, and then asking for the wisdom of the emotion. That's how we can literally start building emotional intelligence. And you guys seem like you've been working out. It's literally like working out a muscle. It's training. So the more we do it, the quicker we get at it.
Wow. That's amazing, man.
Long story short.
No, that's amazing. Let me tell you, I could definitely relate to that because men, most often, we don't show emotions. We don't. We probably do the first two, but we don't do the expressing part, which is so important, right? Because if you don't express it, that's when it just bursts out wherever you are. So that's amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and think about leadership too. Like when somebody in the office triggers you, how different the ideas and the form of leadership then becomes when we try to lead something from tension or anger or pressure in the body.
So why do sometimes, is this like the bursting part when sometimes we end up like speaking in a mean demeanor to somebody or yelling at somebody? Is this, why does that happen?
It's literally that. There's typically something underneath that that we haven't processed or moved, and it's trying to get out. So the energy's looking for any way that it can to move. So then we might be like, again, hanging out with a friend, and the friend says something that usually doesn't even make us mad. But this time, because we're carrying so much energy, it's like a pressure cooker. They say something and we just like blow up. So like it's really important for us, not just men, but as humans, to find ways to move our energy at the body so we can continue to come back to like being strong, grounded. One way to do that is go to the gym. I mean, I know like you guys have been upset one day and it's like, just go to the gym and you move that way.
Makes me feel good,
and you move it and then you come back and
you're
just
happy.
You don't think about anything because you're just so in the body. We're just like, I feel better.
That's
moving
awesome.
the energy. Moving the energy.
Is there ways to use that, what we just learned, to be more effective leaders for our team?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So maybe by giving our team a healthy way to express their emotions.
Exactly. So there's a saying that before we can be better leaders, we need to better ourselves. After we become leaders, we can then better others, right? So for me, leadership always starts with the self. Right? How I lead myself is literally how I lead the world. How we do one thing is how we do everything. So if I say I'm going to do my meditations every day, and I do it once, maybe 2 times a week, that shows up in other areas of my life. Because it becomes a habit, it becomes a pattern. So I tell myself, hey, I'm going to do a meditation, and then I don't do it. So my mind is like, oh, I can't trust him. So then I go into a meeting, and it's like, hey, guys, I'm going to give you this report at 10 o'clock. And then my mind says, like, no, you're not, because you haven't been doing your meditations. So then I give it at like 10:45. So that in itself is already showing me that I need to lead myself first. So how can you do that for your team? You got to start first with emotional intelligence, processing those emotions, and then teaching your team that it's a safe space to do it here at whatever times you set, which then will allow to create intimacy. And intimacy is a connection that we all want as humans, all of us. We all want to be intimate. Nobody wants to be alone. There's times where we like to be in solitude, but nobody likes to be in isolation. So when we can create intimacy, we can create trust, and then your team is willing to say something when something goes wrong without the fear of being judged, because you're my leader. You're the person that is running the business. So I'm afraid I might lose my job, so I'm not going to tell you the juice machine's broken. I'm just gonna keep using it that way. So like somebody figures it out, and I don't want to be involved with it, as opposed to creating a space, sharing all those things, feeling safe, and allowing challenges to just come through, and we keep working through them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about something that you mentioned earlier that I think, I don't know about the rest of the audience, but I'm going to get a lot of value out of this. And that is, how do we learn to make decisions from our heart and our gut rather than our mind?
Great question, bro. It's been taking me a long time to get this one. This guy's good. This guy's good. Yeah, so when we think about the gut, we think about intuition, right? And intuition is like that sixth sense. Now, there's many different forms of intuition that we get. All of us is different for each person, but we all feel it. So sometimes you might be sitting somewhere and it's like you hear a voice say, like, go do it. Like, it's just like, where'd that come from? Right? It's like maybe God or whatever. It feels like somebody's whispering in your ear. It's like, damn, should I go out and say that? And it's like, go. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm gonna go, right? So that's one way. Some people get visuals. So whenever, I get that a lot, when I need to make a decision, it's like I get a quick flash of what's next. And it's like, okay, that's what I gotta do. And I go do it. It happens quick. Some people get a sensation. Let's say a friend asks you, like, hey, you want to go out tonight? And it's like, I feel it in my body, like a little tightness. It's like, nah, man, today's not the night. And then some people can feel it as well, just like a whole body experience, right? So you can get visuals, you can hear a voice, you can feel sensations, or you can just have like a full body push or full body feel. So those are the ways intuition shows up for us. So I'm curious, from sharing that with you guys, do you guys know what your like intuitive hits are? And you can have both, but there's usually one that's more prominent.
For me, it's mainly like the body. I don't know. It's stuff. Whenever, like, if I have to make a decision, my body will tell me, like, I either feel good or I either feel like depressed, low energy.
Yeah.
And that'll kind of tell me, like, nah, that doesn't. I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, beautiful. How about you, bro?
I get the feeling also.
Yeah.
I get the feeling and I get a burst of energy. And when I do it, I actually feel a lot better.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly that. You know, so the more we literally listen to that, the sharper the tool becomes or the stronger the muscle is. And then soon enough, it's just making decisions from there quick.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is scientifically. So when I tell people listen to your gut, they're like, oh, it's that spiritual shit. It's like this, you know, but it's like, all right, let me drop the science. And literally our whole body is a nervous system, and there's nerves everywhere. And we're designed to look for threat. So yes, now we have tattoos, we're handsome men, we get to be in an office, but 100 years ago, 200, 300 years ago, we were out there hunting. For thousands of years before that, it was all about hunting and survival. So that part of our brain is still here. And that connects to the nervous system. And the nervous system is, if you can imagine like a laser that just scans. That nervous system just literally scans and it looks for threat. So when I walk in, my nervous system goes, am I safe? Yep, I'm good. Send that signal to the body, the gut receives it, or you're feeling sensations, and then you make a decision. Which is why if you sometimes notice, maybe you're sitting with a group of friends, or you're sitting in a classroom, or you're sitting with people, and somebody with a very strong presence walks in, they don't say a word, everybody kind of goes,
Yes.
The nervous system picks that up.
Wow.
Yeah, so literally when I come here, your nervous system went to my nervous system and said, is he safe, is he okay? And I've done a lot of work, so my nervous system feels safe. So you were like, damn, you're mad chill, bro. It was literally our nervous system just seeing like, is he okay? So we can protect ourselves. So when we use the nervous system and build more of that presence, the gut, the feelings, it just becomes so much more clear. And we can use that to really show into space. And like, last example I'll give, I was making a business decision. And I was sitting with this gentleman who I was really inspired by. I saw him on Instagram, I was like, man, I really look up to this guy. And then I met him in person. And right when I met him and I shook his hand, like my body was like, oh. And I'm like, damn, why do I feel uncomfortable? So we start talking and he lays out the business plan and I'm just like, no, this ain't it. And I said no. And then a month later, he made a business decision with somebody else and it ruined that person's business. And I was just like, man, gotta keep trusting. Gotta keep trusting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The body knows best, man.
You gotta follow the intuition.
Follow the intuition.
It saved you there.
Yeah.
So many times it might have saved us and we don't even know.
So is it safe to say, I was going to say that, so is it safe to say that if you're going against your intuition, that's usually when things go wrong? Because that happened to me before. Like, I forgot what it was, but it was one time that I told my wife, we were still going out, like, no, I don't want to go there. And we ended up having an accident.
Wow.
And I went because, you know, she was like, oh, but all our friends are going to be there. And then we went and we ended up having an accident, like bad. And then I was like, damn, if I would have listened to myself. I did not. Even when I was there, I was like, I was feeling bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing like you were feeling that before,
Yeah,
right?
before, yeah. As soon as
Exactly.
she mentioned, oh, let's go here, my body just kind of drained down, and I was like, no, I don't want to go. And then I went, like, I was gonna enjoy it, and then that's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
So, follow your intuition.
Yeah, it's gonna save your life, maybe.
Yeah, man, this has been great. I don't know. Do you have any other questions, Alex? You want to go into?
I just want to just to wrap everything up. I want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about a modern Renaissance man. I never heard of that before, honestly, and I want to learn more a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So, Modern Renaissance Man is an organization that we created. And the reason why we created it is because we needed it most. And through my whole life, I always felt like I had to kind of do things by myself. I felt like, because of the way I saw my dad, I felt like I couldn't ask for support, because if I ask for support, like, I'm weak, or like I can't do it by myself, so men aren't going to respect me, so I constantly have to do it myself. As you guys know, since you're leaders, you're business owners, if you want a successful business and you want to scale it, we can't do it by ourselves.
No.
We need a team, we need support, we have to be there asking to receive. And a lot of the men that I would essentially be around, they just didn't really vibe with the stuff I was into, like meditation, breath work, plant medicine, self-discovery. So I was like, man, I just feel like I'm always alone. So, long story short, we developed this brand. And the way it happened is I was working at corporate in the cybersecurity. I was in sales, and this guy was in marketing. And I was cool with everybody except him. Anytime I just saw him, I was like, there's something I don't like about this guy. I was judging him. I was judging him. I'll be honest. I was judging him. And I would see him walk by, and I'm like, I don't like this guy. And then one day I saw a quote from Abraham Lincoln, and it was like, I don't like this man. I must get to know him better. And I was like, maybe this is a sign. I feel it.
Yeah.
Let me trust that. So I went one day, and I see him in the kitchen at work, and I'm like, you know what? He's making a coffee, and I was like, yo, what's up, bro? He looks back at me, and he's like, what's up? Right?
We gotta do this. We gotta do
We gotta
this.
do this, exactly. Right? It's that male dominance. Like, we want to test each other. So we start talking, and he's like, hey, man, I'm starting this book club. It looked like you read, like, personal development books. Why don't you come through? I was like, all right, what better way to get to know this guy than, like, meet up with him? So they met. So I go to his house, and I show up, and I sit down, and I'm waiting, and it's just me and him. I'm like, where's everybody else? And he's like, I invited everybody, but you're the only one who came. And I was like, all right. So we talk about the book, and then we talk about real shit. Not just about how much money we're making, about women, about cars. We talk about, like, how I'm feeling. And that was the first time in my life that I had another man just ask me, like, yo, how you doing, bro? Right? As opposed to getting the question, no, I'm good, bro, I'm good, everything's good. Deep down inside, it's like, I'm hurting.
Yeah.
And that was the first time he asked me that. When I felt that, I was just like, yo, I feel like Superman right now. Like, this is the place I want to build stuff from. It's like, we got to do it again. So we invited a couple more people. Nobody showed up. And I'm like, damn, what is it? And I realized it was just our approach. Like, reading books just wasn't hit. So one of my mentors, a pro MMA fighter, I was like, you know what? Why don't we use him as, like, the role model and say we're going to have a pro MMA fighter talk about, like, being a fighter in the cage and being able to meditate when he comes out. Like, from being like a sensei to a berserker. We invited him, and like 12 men showed up. And then we dropped in and we talked about the real shit, and we talked about how we can just level up together. Every single man walked out of it, they were like, yo, this is the most potent meeting I've had to date. And we had some powerful men in there, and I was like, yo, we gotta do more of this.
That's something.
So long story short, we started hosting events, retreats, rites of passage, which Alexander was actually on. And this really just allowed us to step deeper into leadership, because we got to work on ourselves, figure out what isn't working, what our truth is, get the tools to really communicate better, to enroll people into our vision, and then started building a community from there. So a lot of the men in Modern Renaissance Man, they're optimized in their mind, in their body, and in their spirit. And that's what I believe is a Renaissance man. It's somebody that is well-rounded and constantly is willing to die and be born again, because that's what Renaissance means, be born again. So we're willing to leave the old identity, bury that, go through discomfort, because growth is hard, and then be reborn again into somebody new, which inspires the world. So if you could think about a wolf pack of like strong men like yourself, we're there, and we just do work together to become the best that we can be. That's my Renaissance man.
That is awesome, man. Let me tell you something. This is great. We always talk about self-development and, you know, who you have to become. And this is exactly it. You know, you're hitting the nail on the head with this, because we truly believe that in order to get to where you want to be, you have to change yourself.
Right.
And we always tell people, work on yourself, self-development, which is mainly what this podcast is about. Learn from others, and then work on yourself to achieve your goals. And without the knowledge, but you go into a whole different level. I've never seen anybody like put it this way, and I really like it because, again, like our emotions run our lives. So if we're able to get those under control, and we're able to hook up with people that are like-minded and understand this, then sky's the limit.
Exactly. And I'm curious
Good
if
job.
there's like a minute or two left. I want to ask you guys, what have you found to be like a tool to help you become better in self-development? Is there something that you guys do that has helped you really become a better leader, a better man, something personal?
I like to listen to audiobooks and meditate and actually work out, whether it is riding a bicycle, walking, running, lifting weights. I feel that really takes me to the next level.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, combining the two.
Nice, man. That's beautiful, yeah.
So I don't have the emotional intelligence that you have, but I do something similar to him. I go for walks. Actually, one of the things that helps me out a lot is sitting down and just talking to my kids. I don't know why, but that kind of, I want to know what they know. I want to it helps me to talk about what they want to become. So we usually go around the table at dinner and say, hey, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to be? How was your day? And that kind of just, makes me forget about all the troubles and just focus on them, and then kind of be reborn again from all the stuff that happened during that day.
That's beautiful, man. They say kids are the greatest teachers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
They
I'm
have
guessing
no limitations imposed into them.
exactly, and they become little mirrors of what we are.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm sure, like, let's say you say a bad word, they pick it up, and within the week they're saying that, and it's like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
I've been saying
Yes,
that, and now
yes.
they picked it up, and they're just showing back to me what I've been doing. It's like I gotta check myself.
Yeah.
So they're beautiful mirrors, but yeah, man. And you guys don't put any special formula in this, right?
Secret sauce.
That's after the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to thank all our listeners for listening in. We might, want to bring you a second time. Is that okay?
Yeah.
If anybody wants to have Voy back, I do. So please comment below, like and subscribe. Any final remarks from you guys?
No, let's control our emotions. Let's learn from everything. Like, I'm going to watch this episode a couple times because you said some powerful stuff, man. Like,
Appreciate it.
word.
Yeah, and for those listening, you can definitely find me on Instagram if you have any questions, at Voy, VOY, _official. And then if you have any questions, any support that you may need, just hit me up there.
All right, thank you for listening, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.